Coming just after Jamie Lloyd's dynamic production of The Effect, and just before the much anticipated Christmas production of Roald Dahl's The Witches, sits Alexander Zeldin's play, The Confessions. At only 2.5 weeks, blink and you may miss it. In order to try and stand out for the crowd, Zeldin has packed this production with lots of shiny examples as to why it is a clever piece of theatre. It knows it's clever. Critics will love it for being clever. They'll tell you you should see it so that you feel clever too. And if you make your decisions of what to see at the theatre based on some people telling you you should understand it and you should enjoy it, then The Confessions should be at the top of your list. If, however, you prefer to just see something and enjoy it because you want to, then perhaps it's best you just blink and let this one pass you by. The play opens with a woman off the street walking up onto the stage while the curtain is still down. As the audience quieten down, she looks at us nervously, wringing her hands and telling us she doesn't know why we want to listen to her story. She's not clever, she's not interesting. The curtain looks like a prop from an old music hall. Amelda Brown is the woman who's the older version of the play's protagonist, Alice, acts nervous, wringing her hands and cowering her body, not making eye contact as she speaks. The line itself is faux to self-deprecation, the sort of theatrical equivalent of the fashionistas. What this whole thing, there's tick boxes of how to surprise an audience at the start of the show, and these well-worn tropes will either excite you for recognising them or bore you for recognising them too often. This approach follows for 2 excruciatingly mind-numbing hours, during which there are enough examples of meta-theatricality to fill a drama student's bingo card. Zeldin previously wowed particularly critics with his hard-hitting, naturalistic social comment in the Trilogy. Love, faith, hope and charity, and beyond caring. They played the Dorfman, and this approach of nothing much happened in plot with heavily under-delivered lines may have worked where we're used to new writing and we're used to sitting almost on top of the actors on stage. Here in the Littleton, the same approach is laid bare and looks a bit naked. It's like a too small show on a too big stage. It creates a chasm, lacking emotion and lacking believability and lacking any sort of warmth to it. Apparently the story was inspired, we are told, by conversations Zeldin had with his mother during lockdown, his mother and her acquaintances. I'm not sure what relevance lockdown has here, other than perhaps it's a sign that he was bored, needed something to do. Anyway, the memories that he gleaned from these conversations have become snapshots of Alice's life, which are displayed here for us over 8 decades and 3 continents. There is perhaps, I thought, a comment on the fragility of memory here, how the remembered self is not necessarily telling you the truth of what actually happened. That would explain why we're never allowed to believe that what we're watching is real. There is a stage within the stage within the stage, with a false cross arch that we see revolve and move around the stage as the crew and cast change the setting from one place to another. Most of the show, at least half, is in full house lights. What this is telling us, other than pushing us away emotionally. It adds extra distance between us and the action going on stage. The commentary going on isn't strong enough to draw us in. Oh, and if you have Brechtian on your bingo card, now's the time to tick it off. Early on, Alice is young, living in Australia with her parents. She's shy and fails her first year at university. When she returns, her mother and her friends encourage her to give up on her dreams and accept her lot in life, that is, be a mother and a wife. Most of this takes place during a theatre dinner party, by which I mean a dinner party surrounded by guests who we don't know and we never get to know, but we see enough of to know that they would never be at a dinner party together. Her friend embraces lesbianism. Another talks about his time in Spain. There's some flamenco dancing. Another has possible gender disassociation. She quotes Simone de Beauvoir. There are unsubtle implications of affairs and anger that just pops out from nowhere. People speak over each other. Sentences are left and ideas and thoughts are just hang finished. They trifle in silence for a long time. Then we just move on. If you're keeping up, your bingo card should now be filled with playing naturalism. It's like watching early Carol Churchill, but performed by very early students of Carol Churchill. As we skim through Alice's life decade by decade, we get more of the same. The venues may change, we see them change, from one living room set to another living room set. We have a library at one point. Often the action is overlooked by older Alice, who remembers, reacts, and sometimes steps in. A lot happens over 80 years, but that's because a lot happens over 80 years. It's crammed with enough issues and social commentary to bring any Guardian reader to orgasm. Primarily, these seem to be gender and sexuality based. Through marriages, births, divorces, and deaths, we see Alice deal with sexism, sexual liberation, feminism, sexual expression, homosexuality, gender, sexual control, and sexual assault. Surprisingly, the play isn't at all sexual. It's a type of naturalism that veers on being difficult to watch. Yes, we know people sit in silence for periods. We know that not everything people say is heard or listened to. But geez, can you give us something more to hang on than lines delivered like a TV soap opera actor talking to camera? We know watching other people's lives and other people's conversations can be interesting. But for 5 minutes, then we move on. When this is all there is, and they're not saying anything that interesting, it makes it very difficult to care. The Confessions feels less like a piece of theatre and more like a seminar on what a piece of good theatre should be like. It's a bunch of clever theatrical conceits put together by a group of clever theatrical practitioners, wrapped up and delivered to us to show how clever they are. It is good theatre in a technical way. We've seen all these techniques before. Relying on them is just not enough. When the techniques are so clearly on display, it's like we're looking at the scaffold rather than the house. I may be alone in my discerning view from the press night I saw, which is bound to garner positive reviews. But that same press night saw more than a handful of people walk out. I can't say for sure why, but I doubt it was to do with outrage or shock. My guess is more to do with boredom. Either that or they had filled their bingo cards early and wanted to claim their prize.
Bingo!
If you're a dinner party bore who likes to talk about seeing the best theatre and the right theatre,
That's true. Oh, have you met David Beckham?
Yeah, I did meet David Beckham.
It's getting boring.
Then the confessions is probably for you. You can get a nice big shiny badge saying how much you get theatre. Otherwise, I'd suggest you go and see something that's not so far up its own theatrical arse that's forgotten how to make theatre enjoyable for an audience who wants to enjoy themselves.